Several key Seahawks defenders got destroyed in pass coverage in Detroit on Monday against the Lions. What's going on, everybody? It is Thursday, which means the week of football is just about to get started. We got a game later tonight against, we got the Bucks and the Falcons. Pretty good game. And after that game, or right as that game is starting to end, me and the Hawks Nest are going to go live. We're going to talk about the game against the Lions. We're going to talk about this upcoming game against the Giants. Going to run it all down, so be there, 8 o'clock. You guys know the drill. And as it is Thursday, you probably know what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the pass coverage. We're going to talk about who's getting beat up in coverage and who's not. And look, there's nothing in this video that's going to be very good, right? When a quarterback goes 19 for 19 on you, well, you didn't do well, right? That's just how this works. Jared Goff had his way. So we're not going to have fun looking at these numbers today. There's not going to be much of anything that we have fun with in this video today. So just be ready for it. It happens. I think it's somewhat understandable that it happened. Not all of it, but some of it. But we got to go through the numbers here. So this is PFR. Again, PFR, I'm not 100% sure if their numbers are caught up. I think they are now. Last week, I was noticing stuff that didn't really make sense. I think they've gotten their stuff sorted out. But it is worth noting that there are still some weird things going on in the way they're tabulating stuff. So maybe they're just having to scramble to adjust for mistakes they've made in previous games. I don't know. But what I have here is basically copied from PFR. So if they're wrong and they're able to adjust for it later, or I'm able to figure out what the problem is, I'll try to account for that. But for now, I believe they're caught up. So let's start with the linebackers. Baker didn't play. Dodson, he got picked on a little bit. He gave up 36 yards in coverage in this game. I think he got targeted 3 times for 3 completions, so not a very good game. I will say this, PFR was a lot kinder to him than PFF. PFF gave him, I believe, more than that. So, Dodson, not a good game. We've seen 2 different Dodsons so far this year, right? Against New England, he gave up a lot in coverage to those tight ends. And then in this game against Detroit, he got beat up. But then we saw the Miami game and the Denver game where he was pretty lights out in coverage. So, seen 2 different Dodsons so far this year. We'll see which one we get the rest of the way. Tyrese Knight, on the other hand, look, I'm not going to go crazy with this, right? Because Tyrese Knight, he didn't get picked on in coverage because Detroit was able to pick on everybody. So this isn't necessarily a big accomplishment, but he got targeted 1 time in that game, gave up 4 yards in coverage. That's pretty good. Again, it means a lot less when you're talking about a game like this, where everyone else is getting blown off the field. Like, why would they ever bother picking on one particular guy when they can pick on everybody? But still, you would have expected that Tyrese Knight would have been kind of the guy that you specifically pick on. So I'm going to take some positive things away from the fact that Knight only allowed 1 catch for 4 yards. And Drake Thomas was not targeted in this game, so let's move on to the edge rushers, where things are largely the same. There isn't a lot to report here. Unfortunately, we can do nothing but highlight the Trevis Gibson experience. 2 catches on 2 targets for 16 yards and a touchdown. And normally that would be completely fine. I wouldn't care that much about it. He's an edge rusher. He's not here to cover. Unfortunately, the touchdown he gave up was to Jared Goff. And understand that when I'm talking about stuff like that, there's giving up a touchdown to Jared Goff, and then there's giving up a touchdown to Jared Goff. And he's not going to live that one down. He looked really bad on that play, looked very slow. Goff was jogging and still beat him to the point. He just kind of embarrassed himself on that play. And he's not going to be able to live it down right now. So that was it, but that was a big it. You know, that was an embarrassing play. and he's getting roasted for it, and I can't really defend him for it. Now, he's not really paid to cover. Of course, the only reason why he's playing is that we have so many injuries on our edge group. He'll probably be down to like almost no snaps, if any, when these guys get back. So, he's a reserve player. Reserve players play like reserve players sometimes. News at 11. All right, let's move on to cornerbacks here, where unfortunately we're just going to have to say it. Devin Witherspoon, that may have been the worst game of his career so far. And we already went over PFF. PFF did not roast him that much for that game. Like, let's be clear here. PFF gave him a big break. PFR did not. Okay, look at this. According to PFR, he gave up 137 yards in one game. So, people are going to have disagreements on exactly who they're in line with. But according to PFR, he was targeted over and over and over again, did not force a single incompletion, and gave up over 130 yards. A lot of it was yak. You had the the Montgomery play. You had the touchdown that he gave up to Jameson Williams, which, like I kind of predicted, PFR gave it to him, whereas PFF gave it to Kayvon Wallace. So we have a disagreement there, which everybody's going to have a different opinion on that. I'm just going to go ahead and go with what PFR says, and people are free to disagree. But in one game, Witherspoon's 2024 season is now not on a very good track. These numbers are not in line with what I expected after last year. 65% completion, 181 yards after 4 games, a touchdown, no picks, QB rating over 110. He's got work to do. And while I can't necessarily say that I think he's actually playing bad, because there are other elements to the game and there are other things to consider, he's definitely not looking as good as he did last year. And there is some talk of a sophomore slump. And right now, yeah, definitely an argument. Especially when you see what Reek Woolen's doing on the other side, because he basically had a clean game. 1 target, 1 completion for, I think it was 10 yards. And PFF and PFR both have the same there. So, no issues there. Only he's allowed 1 yard after catch yard the whole season, which, given the fact that his issue is tackling, that's a very good sign, right? That means he's not allowing anything after the catch, which means he's doing something right in that regard. His QB rating allowed is 1.7, which sounds like a joke. It's not. So he is cooking it. He is absolutely cooking it. And you have to say, there's a clear contrast here. Witherspoon is still the better player than Woolen. I don't doubt that for a second, but right now Woolen is playing better. Because it's not like Witherspoon is perfect in his run support and tackling at the moment. He's not. Trey Brown, according to PFR, got targeted once in this game, gave up 1 completion for, I don't think it was a very big play. Let me get, I'm sorry. Okay, right. Okay, this was adjusted before. So, actually, my bad. Let me step back on that. Trey Brown did not allow any targets, did not get targeted once in this game, according to PFR. Which is interesting because PFF dinged him for a touchdown, which was the last touchdown of the game to Amon-Ra, which, again, we have a disagreement here, so that's always interesting, right? But according to them, Trey Brown was not targeted in this game, which seems hard to believe, but then again, they only threw the ball 19 times, and a lot of those targets went to Witherspoon and Dodson. So, certainly interesting. Nothing for Pritchett, nothing for Williams, nothing for Burns. Obviously, Burns and Williams. And Pritchett didn't play either, so these 3 corners were the only guys who played. Julian Love got hurt in this game, obviously, so he came out before any serious damage was done. I think he allowed 6 yards on 2 targets. So actually a really clean game for Love in coverage, so can't put this on him. And he continues to have a good season. So Julian Love, all is well. Can't hate. Still having a really good year. Rayshon Jenkins, they actually gave quite a bit to, I think. They gave him 2 targets and, of course, 2 completions because every target was completed, right? For 43 yards. Do I have that right? Yeah, 43 yards. So for a safety, that's kind of ugly. Safeties usually don't give up that much in coverage on PFR. Oddly enough, one of the few safeties who gave up a lot in coverage last year on PFR was Love. So it doesn't happen that often. So not a very good game for Rayshon. You can see all the yak he's got here. Most of it's yak. QB rating again, still about 98, which certainly isn't terrible or anything, but not his best game. And according to PFR, Kayvon Wallace not targeted in this game, so they didn't give him the Jameson Williams touchdown, and they didn't give him anything else. So I'm sure there's going to be some debate in the comments over who was to blame for those touchdowns. The Amon-Ra one and the Jameson one. The Goff one we all know, right? The Goff one was very clearly Gibson. But Kayvon Wallace gets no dings on PFR. Kobe Bryant, however, gets dinged. Kobe Bryant, however, gets his first two targets, first two completions against, and 37 yards, including the game-sealing touchdown to Amon-Ra, which, looking at the TV broadcast, I did think that Kobe allowed it. A lot of people were saying that, no, it was Trey Brown because Trey Brown got caught up in a pile of people and he was supposed to be there and he wasn't there, so it should be Trey Brown. I don't know. This one's interesting, right? And again, there's room for disagreement here. I'm going to go with the Kobe Bryant reading because I can see it both ways, and I usually try to stick with PFR if I try to differentiate or step away from any one particular reading on it. So we'll just go with it for now. So he's got a perfect QB rating against him right now. We don't love that. It's a very small sample size, though. And that's it for pass coverage Thursday. So, yeah, bad. Not good. The opposite of good. But we got a chance to start getting right this upcoming Sunday. Make things better. Let's get it. See you guys later. Go Hawks.